If you had told me a year ago that my wife would deliver a slap across my face in front of her whole family, with her secret boyfriend as an audience, I would have thought you were pulling my leg. Not that I believed we were flawless, far from it, really. But I reckon that problems are best tackled over a good chat rather than a dramatic public execution. Hey there, I'm Daniel. I've hit the big 3-5. Naturally quiet. Strategic, but only when the occasion calls for it. And definitely not the kind who feels the need to shout in a crowded room. I've always aimed to be the steady rock in the whirlwind of chaos. The adulting expert. For a time, I really believed that was all there was to it. My wife, Olivia, is 32 years young. Absolutely breathtaking, razor sharp, and when the mood strikes her, downright merciless. She's got this charm that draws people in, and it seems to work on the guys she collaborates with, too. Oh, but we'll circle back to that little nugget of wisdom later. Well, tonight was meant to be the grand celebration of our wedding anniversary dinner. It was her parents who threw the shindig. A swanky shindig in their posh pad. Crystal glasses perched atop a table so long, it seemed like it had escaped from a royal banquet, ready to host a feast fit for kings and queens, or at least a very ambitious dinner party. Her mother buzzed about like a bee that had just discovered a garden full of flowers, all nerves and energy. Her dad was about as chatty as a rock. When I showed up, Olivia's little sister, Sarah, was already working on her third glass of wine. Clearly, she was on a mission. And then, just when you thought it couldn't get any crazier, it did. And there he was, good old James. They said he was a family friend, but I couldn't help but wonder if he was more of a family acquaintance who just happened to show up at the right time. Once upon a time, Olivia had teamed up with someone who now merely floated around the edges of her social circle, like a wayward balloon at a party, still there, but not quite the main event. He seemed as cozy as a cat in a sunbeam. Way too cozy for my own good. There was a confidence about them that sent a delightful shiver down my spine, like a cat walking over my grave, only much less ominous and far more intriguing. So, what about Olivia? She sparkled in his presence, laughter spilling out like a well-timed punchline, leaning in as if his words were the secret to the universe, tucking her hair behind her ear as if she'd just stepped out of a time machine set to her teenage years. Yet, there I was, keeping my mouth shut like a well-trained mime at a silent retreat. I maintained a grin that could rival a Cheshire cat's. I reassured myself that my imagination was just running wild again. Well, that was the first of many blunders on my part. As dinner wrapped up, I rose from my seat and produced a tiny box from my pocket. "Olivia," I said, giving my throat a little clear out, as if that would somehow make my words more profound. "This year may have thrown us a few curveballs, but I'm still rooting for us, come what may. I picked up a little something for you." She grabbed the box, her face as flat as a pancake on a Sunday morning. The kind of gift that says, "I really can't stand what's in here, but hey, it's the thought that counts." What I found inside was a key fob, just sitting there like it was waiting for its moment to shine. A shiny, fresh off-the-lot car. It's not a Porsche, but hey, it's a luxury sedan that I've been pinching pennies for over a year to snag. She brought it up once, like a casual throwaway line in a novel that you almost miss but later realize was a plot twist waiting to happen. The memory came flooding back, like a long-lost friend showing up at your door with a pizza and a story to tell. She glanced at it, chuckled, and shook her head in disbelief. Definitely not a gentle chuckle. A rather snarky, if not slightly heartless, approach. "You're serious?" she asked, clutching the key as if it were a piece of trash. "Is this it? Is this really what you think would put a smile on my face? Well, it's not exactly a Porsche, is it? Not a peep." Even Sarah paused her sipping. Her mom's face turned into a statue, as if someone had pressed pause on a sitcom right before the punchline. James wore a sly grin, as if he'd just heard the punchline of a joke only he understood. I kept my lips sealed, like a clam at a seafood festival. I gulped down the lump that had decided to set up camp in my throat and gave a nod, as if that would somehow make everything better. Her sister leaned in, a smirk playing on her lips, and said, half in jest and half with a raised eyebrow, "So, what's the deal? Why are you two still an item? I figured you'd have packed his bags and sent him on his way after that Santorini escapade." Olivia jumped right in without a second thought. "Absolutely, I had the same thought bouncing around in my head. Well, it seems I've outdone myself this time. I decided to roll the dice and give him another shot. Well, that was the final straw. At long last, I found my voice, managing to keep it as steady as a tightrope walker on a windy day. Way too chill for my taste. "Hey Olivia, how about we skip this one? Not in this way, not at this moment." She turned her head slowly, as if I'd just nudged a snoozing tiger awake. Her gaze snagged on mine like a fish on a line. Slender, blazing, and absolutely furious. "Oh," she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "So, you really believe that a car and a lukewarm pep talk are the magic solutions to all of life's problems, huh?" I was attempting to pull off a little act of kindness. For a moment, the world held its breath. Her father stared at his plate as if it were a black hole ready to devour him whole. Her mother let out a laugh that was more of a nervous giggle, like a cat caught in a rainstorm. "Darling, perhaps we should just—" Olivia interrupted her with a casual wave of her hand, as if to say, "Hold that thought. Do you have any idea what your issue is, Daniel?" She lost it. "Well, aren't you just a delightful little spark of excitement? As predictable as a cat deciding to knock over a glass of water right after you've cleaned the table. You really believe that just scraping by qualifies you for a medal, huh?" I got to my feet, doing my best to hold it all together like a juggler with one too many balls in the air. "I'm not about to put on a show for your family, thank you very much." She flashed a grin that could light up a room, as if she just heard the best joke in the world. A smile that could freeze a cup of coffee in mid-sip. "Oh, so you're not in the mood for a little drama, are you?" she exclaimed, her voice climbing higher and higher. "So, you'd prefer I don't put you in a pickle, huh?" She moved around the table with the grace of a lioness on the prowl, taking her sweet time as if she were deciding whether to pounce or just grab a snack instead. The click-clack of her heels echoed on the tile, like a tap dance routine gone rogue. The sound of clicking echoed like a chorus in the stillness, a symphony of solitude that could make even the most stoic of souls chuckle at its absurdity. "Well, it seems we've missed the boat on that one." She came to a halt right in front of me. The first thing that knocked me over was her perfume. Delightful, biting, and a bit overwhelming. And just like that, her hand appeared. Whack! A crisp, stinging smack right on my cheek. The sound bounced around like it was auditioning for a role in a dramatic play. A gasp escaped someone's lips. A fork went on an unexpected adventure, clattering to the floor with all the grace of a clumsy dancer. Her sister muttered, "Holy sh!" Olivia leaned in so close that I could practically count the tiny sparks of fury dancing in her eyes. "You," she hissed, her voice dripping with disdain, "are a colossal blunder. This marriage is a bit of a blunder. I spent the prime of my life looking after a guy who believes that being average is a charming trait." Her mother rose, shaking like a leaf in a windstorm. "Hey Olivia, what's cooking in your world?" I kept my lips sealed, like a well-guarded secret. Not a peep from me. I cast my gaze in her direction. To the woman I tied the knot with. Or at least I was under that impression. So, I shifted my gaze over to James. He stood there like a statue, not even a twitch. He just stood there, as if he were a statue that had forgotten how to be anything else. There he was, lounging with that infuriating half a smile, swirling his wine as if he were the star of some grand film, completely oblivious to the chaos around him. I gave myself a little nod, as if I were the wise sage of my own thoughts. My hands were trembling, but it wasn't out of fear. Out of clarity. I took a careful step back from the table, as if it might suddenly sprout legs and chase me down the hall. I gave my jacket a little tug, making sure it looked just right. "You really dropped the ball on this one," I said with a gentle chuckle. So, I strolled right out the door. As soon as I clicked that front door shut, it hit me, something new had just swung wide open. The little piece of me that clings to memories like a stubborn stain on a favorite shirt. And holds a grudge like a dog with a bone. After I stumbled out of that dinner feeling like I'd just been handed a one-way ticket to the gallows, I cruised around aimlessly, street after street, my headlights dancing past stop signs that barely registered in my brain. My cheek was still smarting from the slap, but what really had me feeling the heat was the realization that I'd been letting things slide for way too long. Honestly, I had a hunch that something was a bit wonky. Oh, it's not just a thing with Olivia. Alongside him. James, my friend. From the moment he strolled into her parents' house as if he had just inherited the keys to the kingdom, I sensed it. That effortlessly cool vibe. His laughter was like a well-timed punchline, echoing a bit too enthusiastically at her jokes. She gazed at him as if he were her trusty safety net, ready to catch her if she took a tumble. They claimed he was a family friend, but I had my doubts, mostly because I'd never seen him at any of our gatherings, unless you count the time he showed up uninvited and ate all the potato salad. But let's not kid ourselves here, I'm not exactly lacking in the brains department. Oh, and just to clarify, I can see just fine, thank you very much. That guy was about as friendly as a cactus in a balloon factory. He practically glued himself to my side. He didn't just put on a friendly face, He practically had a welcome mat rolled out for everyone. He had his eyes glued to me, like a cat watching a particularly interesting piece of string. As if he had his feet dangling over the edge, just biding his time for the inevitable tumble. And when Olivia gave me a good smack, he just stood there like a statue, completely unfazed. He simply took a sip of his wine, as if contemplating the mysteries of the universe, or perhaps just the label on the bottle. That was the moment it hit me. Not exactly what I was wishing for. Well, that was a surprise, wasn't it? Understood. Oh, you better believe there was a lot more happening behind the scenes. So when I got home, wandering through the quiet, I wasn't just feeling a bit off. I was totally in the zone. All in, laser focused, like a cat zeroing in on a laser pointer, ready to pounce on the next big idea. Fuming like a kettle on the verge of boiling over. I couldn't help but wonder, if there's a hidden gem out there, where would she be silly enough to stash it away? And then, there it was, like a surprise guest at a party you didn't know you were hosting. An ancient tablet, wedged in the hallway drawer like it was hiding from the world, still clinging to life with its charger plugged into the wall like a stubborn old man refusing to let go of his favorite armchair. Once upon a time, she toted it around like a prized possession until she decided to upgrade, and it vanished from her memory like a sock in a dryer. I grabbed it with all the grace of a cat trying to land on its feet after a tumble. It's still buzzing along. Just a little something missing, the password. With a single swipe, I was in like a kid sneaking into a candy store. Turns out, her messages had been playing a game of hide and seek this whole time, sinking away like they were on a secret mission. She just stayed logged in, like a cat that found the sunniest spot in the house and decided it was home for good. I never gave it a second thought. And there it was, sitting at the top of the list as if it had been holding its breath just for me, his name. James, huh? He might just burst into tears or make a dramatic exit, like a character in a novel who's had enough of the plot twists. No matter what happens, we come out on top. Olivia, my friend, the name that rolls off the tongue like a well-practiced line in a novel yet feels as familiar as your favorite pair of socks. What adventures await us today? No need to fret. I'll turn him into the villain of this story. Once he loses it, I'll casually mention that I felt a bit threatened. James, my friend. Oh, that's clever. Well, that's bound to come in handy when it's time to face the judge. Olivia, huh? A name that rolls off the tongue like a well-practiced line in a novel. What's the story behind it? Believe it or not, he surprised me with a gift tonight. Just like the genuine article. A vehicle on wheels, ready to whisk you away on an adventure or perhaps just to the grocery store. Can you even wrap your head around that? James, my friend. What sort are we talking about? Olivia, huh? A rather unexciting mid-range sedan, the kind that blends into the background like a wallflower at a dance party. Well, let's just say it's not exactly a Porsche, is it? He just doesn't seem to grasp it. I just kept on scrolling, like a determined squirrel hunting for the last acorn of autumn. Oh, it just took a turn for the worse, didn't it? Olivia, huh? Well, after tonight, it looks like I'll be putting my best foot forward in the divorce department. I simply have to steer the story my way. In just a few weeks, we'll be looking back at this like a bad haircut, something to laugh about and move on from. James, my friend. Alrighty then. I'm all set to make this thing happen for real. Time to stop tiptoeing around the issue. And then I stumbled upon the photos. There she stood, striking a pose in front of our bedroom mirror, as if auditioning for a role in a romantic comedy. Sporting an outfit that looked like it had just stepped out of a sci-fi novel. The captions really did the heavy lifting here. Tick-tock, the clock is winding down to liberation. I placed the tablet on the table with all the grace of a cat trying to land on a hot tin roof. Not that I had finished, mind you. But there I was, as calm as a cat in a sunbeam, and that was the real danger. Keep it down, folks. No anger here. Well, that was the plan all along, and I certainly wasn't about to give her any ammunition to twist things around on me. So, I decided to crack open my laptop instead. I snapped some screenshots. Each and every piece of writing. Each and every scheme. Each little fib. I organized them into folders, each one proudly bearing a label that screams its date and category like a well-prepared party guest showing off their name tag. I went ahead and played detective, matching up some of the messages with the timestamps on our shared calendar. You know, just your average sleuthing on a Tuesday. I was putting together a little something that could rival a courtroom drama. A delightful, unassuming little explosion of joy. I gazed at that tablet as if it held the secrets of the universe, or at least the answer to why my coffee was cold. Time seemed to stretch on like a rubber band, and I was pretty sure I could hear my brain doing the Macarena in the background. Even after the screen decided to take a little nap. It felt like a symphony was playing in my chest, and I was the only audience member in the house. Pointed. Conscious. Risky business. I possessed the truth, like a secret recipe tucked away in a dusty old cookbook. Plenty, and then some. But now, here it was, the question that truly counted. What on earth was I planning to do with that? I could have easily sent the whole shebang. Just 10 little taps, and suddenly, it's like the town's gossip hotline is buzzing with the latest scoop. Her folks. Her pals. That person is in charge. Even James's better half, if he happened to have one. But there was just something about that felt a bit too simple as pie. Way too jumpy. What Olivia did to me was anything but a secret. She went above and beyond the call of cheating. She really put me in my place, didn't she? She had me unraveling like a cheap sweater in front of her whole clan. It made me look like a jester, all thanks to a car key. She really put on a performance. She was on the lookout for an audience. And it dawned on me, if I just sat there quietly, she'd somehow manage to turn it into a whole circus act. She'd have a good old sob to her mother. Let her know I was feeling a bit sour. Wobbly, like a toddler on roller skates. She'd cast herself as the victim, just like she had schemed from the start. Absolutely not. Well, that just won't cut it. This absolutely needed to be out in the open. It was bound to be a ruckus. It was only fair that it reflected back what she had done to me. But with a bit more brainpower. I plopped myself down with a trusty pen and some good old-fashioned paper, ready to spill every message I had like a caffeinated squirrel on a mission. Each and every quote. Each and every date. I crafted a timeline of treachery, complete with plot twists and dramatic flair. It's not all about settling scores. To keep things in check. I was on the hunt for some good old-fashioned recipes. I was determined to leave no space for any kind of denial. Then it hit me, there was one spot where she couldn't possibly twist the tale. Ah, the grand celebration of her birth. A day filled with cake, laughter, and perhaps a few questionable dance moves. It was just around the corner, less than a week away, like a surprise party you didn't plan for but somehow knew was coming. She had snagged a swanky spot right in the heart of downtown. Flower arrangements that could make even a bee stop and admire the view. Ah, champagne fountains, because who doesn't want a bubbly waterfall of celebration cascading down like a sparkling, effervescent dream? It's the kind of thing that makes you feel like you're living in a novel where every toast is a grand affair and every sip is a story waiting to be told. Just be careful not to slip on the bubbles, they can be quite the slippery characters. She even sent out personalized invites that proclaimed, "A new chapter begins." How delightfully poetic. I had a hunch she'd be in the midst of a lively crowd, friends, co-workers, and a sprinkle of influencers, all buzzing around her like bees to honey. Folks, she was keen to dazzle. It was her moment in the spotlight. Her hand-picked crowd. Well, I figured, why not make this the moment? Ah, that room. Oh, that crowd. On that particular evening. If she was after the limelight, she'd snag it without breaking a sweat. But I'd be the one pulling the lever, you know? The next morning, I was as smooth as a well-oiled machine, gliding through my routine with the grace of a caffeinated squirrel. I made sure to stash every screenshot onto not one but 2 USB drives, because you never know when you might need a backup of your digital masterpieces. I went ahead and printed out the most scandalous texts, neatly labeling each one by date like a detective in a mystery novel. I went ahead and made some encrypted cloud backups, you know, just in case the universe decides to throw a curveball my way. So, I picked up the phone and dialed Tom, my go-to guy for all things events and lighting at private venues. You know, the kind of friend who can turn a dimly lit room into a disco inferno, or at least make it look less like a cave. These days, he was a freelance wizard, conjuring up magic at weddings and corporate shindigs. I asked, "Hey, are you still working in Eastport?" He let out a hearty chuckle. "Oh, absolutely. I've got a couple of events on the calendar." "Why, you ask?" Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's like trying to find the last piece of a jigsaw puzzle in a room full of cats, mysterious and a bit chaotic. But hey, let's dive into the curiosity together, shall we? Ah, the grand affair known as Olivia's party. She made a beeline for it. Awkward silence lingers in the air. Ah, that shindig? Oh, I spotted her name on the calendar, like a surprise guest at a party you forgot you were hosting. Are you planning to show up? I'll show up, but I could use a little help first. He dropped his voice like a hot potato. What sort are we talking about? Highly specialized and precise. Ah, the AV Room, a magical land where technology and creativity collide, often resulting in a delightful mess of wires and half-finished projects. A place where dreams of cinematic glory are born, usually accompanied by a few chuckles and the occasional oops, did I just unplug that? Could I kindly get my hands on the projection system? It seems to be playing hard to get. Yet another pause hung in the air, as if time itself had decided to take a coffee break. Alright then. Got a flash drive or something handy? I'll get it done by tomorrow, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. By the afternoon, we found ourselves in a parking lot tucked behind a coffee shop, as if that was the most normal place to rendezvous. Ah, the good old classic spy movie antics. I passed him a sealed envelope containing a USB drive and a little note, like a secret agent on a mission, minus the tuxedo and the dramatic music, of course. Let's have our little showdown at precisely 8:30 p.m., shall we? Let's dive right in. Volume? What volume? It's like asking a cat to take a bath, just not happening. Hit that play button and let your feet do the wandering. Tom locked eyes with me and quipped, "This isn't some murder video, is it?" After a solid 48 hours of frowning, I finally cracked a smile. Well, for some folks, it's just another day at the office, except the office is a funeral home. I cruised home that night feeling as light as a feather, like I could float right out of my car and into the stars. I'm feeling a bit grumpy, I must say. Not quite there, but definitely understandable. She'd penned a script and decided I was the perfect choice for the role of the fool. Well, here I was, ready to step up to the mic and give it my best shot. And this time, the whole world would finally get a glimpse of the real deal. On the night of the party, I donned the suit that always made her smile. A sleek, slender black cut. No neckwear required. A fresh, crisp white shirt. I was looking sharp, if I do say so myself. Definitely not her cup of tea. Just for me. It had been radio silence from Olivia ever since the dinner debacle. She didn't even think to check if I was planning to show up at the party. She likely thought I was just too shy to admit it. Completely shattered. Absolutely spot on. I arrived precisely when I said I would, like a well-timed clock, minus the ticking, of course. The venue was just as extravagant as I had imagined it would be. Flickering candles that seemed to have a little dance party of their own. A string quartet that performs live, bringing a touch of elegance and charm to any occasion. A gigantic floral wall proudly displays the name Olivia in shimmering gold letters, like a botanical masterpiece that just can't help but show off. The champagne was pouring like it had a personal vendetta against sobriety. Folks were already a bit wobbly and showering her with praise for her dress, her skin, and that radiant glow of hers. Well, naturally, she was positively radiant. She was convinced she had it in the bag. At first, I played it cool and kept my distance. Surrounded by familiar faces who recognized me, but it had been a while since the infamous slap made its grand debut. Some folks were avoiding eye contact like it was a game of dodgeball, and they were definitely not ready to get hit. Some shot me those pity smiles, like I was the last slice of pizza at a party. Everyone wanted a piece, but nobody wanted to admit it. One fellow leaned in and said, "Hey, I caught wind of that dinner." Ouch, that's a tough one. I returned the smile, as if it were a well-timed punchline in a comedy routine. Absolutely. Well, let's dive into the festivities and see what kind of shenanigans unfold. At 8:28, I made my grand escape. Tom had shot me a text an hour ago, just to keep me on my toes. Ready to roll. The AV room is now open for business. Remote, you say? Sounds like a fancy way of saying, I'm not there, but I'm still in charge. Just give me a shout when you're ready. I strolled down the lengthy corridor, giving the restrooms a casual nod, until I stumbled upon the door that boldly declared staff only. It was as quiet as a library on a Monday morning, with only the faintest whispers of dust settling in the corners. It's just a gentle buzz from the soundboard and projector, like they're having a little chat of their own. With a decisive click, I gave the remote a little nudge, summoning the magic of the power button. 8:30 in the morning, the time when the world seems to wake up, one coffee at a time. Just like clockwork. As the scene shifted back to the ballroom, the lights took a leisurely dip into darkness. All chatter came to a screeching halt. The quartet gradually slipped away, like a magician's final trick, leaving only echoes of their melody behind. The guests shifted their attention to the projector screen, eagerly awaiting the first slide to make its grand entrance. At first glance, it seemed like a charming little homage. How about a little slideshow action? A snapshot of Olivia beaming with joy. So there we were, just one of us at the beach, soaking up the sun and trying not to look like a lobster. Out of nowhere, a clap echoed through the air. And just like that, the screen decided to take a little nap. Suddenly, a burst of white text materialized out of nowhere, like a ghostly apparition in a literary tale. Every tale has its flip side. Here's my contribution. Ah, the sweet embrace of silence. Next up, a delightful little screenshot. James, huh? He's likely to either burst into tears or make a dramatic exit, like a character in a novel who just can't handle the plot twist. In the grand scheme of things, it's a win-win situation for us, no matter how you slice it. Gasp. What a surprise. Tap. Olivia, huh? A name that rolls off the tongue like a well-practiced line in a novel. What's the story behind it? No need to fret. I'll turn him into the villain of this story. As soon as he loses it, I'll casually mention that I felt a bit threatened. Someone let out a whisper that could have been mistaken for a dramatic line in a novel. Oh my god. With a satisfying click, the world around me seemed to pause for just a moment, as if waiting for the next chapter to unfold. James, huh? So, what kind of wheels did he score for you? Olivia, huh? A name that rolls off the tongue like a well-practiced line in a novel. What's the story behind it? A rather unexciting, run-of-the-mill sedan that blends into the background like a wallflower at a dance party. Well, let's just say it's not exactly a Porsche. He just doesn't seem to grasp it. With a satisfying click, the world seemed to pause for just a moment, as if the universe itself was taking a breath. Ah, the sweet sound of progress. Snapshots of their adventure side by side. Within the cozy confines of our abode. Those mirror selfies of hers. Those captions of hers, dripping with smugness. The temperature in the room dropped faster than a lead balloon on a windy day. Olivia was rooted to the spot by the stage, her mouth hanging open just a tad, gripping her wine glass as if it were a life raft in a sea of chaos. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd. Taking a step back, a handful of folks whipped out their phones. Her sister glanced over, curiosity dancing in her eyes. That person is in charge. Well, she went ahead and invited her boss, didn't she? She placed her glass down with the grace of a cat avoiding a puddle and strolled out the door, leaving behind a trail of curiosity. Olivia spun around to the back of the room, as if she expected someone to pop out from behind the curtains like a magician's assistant. Just for me. I had already checked out, packed my bags, and waved goodbye to the whole scene. Through the side door, we go. Jacket casually slung over my shoulder, like a seasoned pro ready to take on the world, or at least the nearest coffee shop. Right to the parking lot we go. Not a single word was necessary. I had already spilled all the beans that really counted. Just as I was making my grand exit from the parking lot, my phone decided to start buzzing like it was auditioning for a role in a horror movie. Ah, Olivia. 6 missed calls. Well, that's one way to make sure I feel popular today. Well, then it's 7. Then there were 10. A cascade of messages came pouring in. What on earth did you just do? Are you out of your mind? You really put me on the spot in front of the whole crowd, didn't you? Talk about a grand entrance. Well, congratulations. You've officially turned my birthday into a comedy of errors. I just let silence do the talking. Not that I was incapable, but that silence spoke volumes beyond anything I could muster. It wasn't merely her fingers dancing across the screen. Oh, look who decided to join the party, Tom just shot me a message as well. A drink is definitely on your tab, my friend. Now that was something to write home about. Next up, her sister. Sarah, huh? A name that rolls off the tongue like a well-practiced line in a novel. What's the story behind it? Well, would you look at that? Well, that was a real doozy. Well, let's just say she walked right into that one, didn't she? Just putting it out there. By the crack of dawn, the video had already found its way onto the internet, like a cat sneaking out for a midnight snack. A brave soul decided to capture the screen and share it with the world, all under a catchy title. The birthday girl found herself in a bit of a pickle when her husband decided to spill the beans in front of the whole crowd. More than 100,000 eyeballs in under a day, talk about a crowd. Any thoughts? Relentless. That Porsche line went sour faster than a forgotten carton in the back of the fridge. Who in their right mind brings their secret lover to a party where their husband is also present? I really ought to master the art of keeping my cool when someone pulls a fast one on me. Olivia's Instagram, once a vibrant gallery of travel snaps, gym selfies, and all the wife goals you could imagine, has now gone private. And just like that, poof. Gone without a trace. Hey, James? He went ahead and hit the big red button, wiping his entire profile clean like it never existed. Poof. Just like that, he vanished from the digital realm. I heard through the grapevine that he was given the old heave-ho from a big client account at his firm. They called it image issues, you know. It seems that companies prefer to keep their names out of the juicy headlines about infidelity scandals. Who would have thought, right? Well, that's just splendid. But Olivia, though? She gave it her best shot. Well, bless her heart, she gave it a good go. She shot me a voice note, like a modern-day pigeon delivering a message, but with a lot less cooing and a lot more giggling. Her voice trembled, revealing a vulnerability she had always kept under wraps, like a secret stash of embarrassing childhood photos. Well, here I am, at a loss for words. It's like my brain hit a traffic jam, and all the ideas are stuck in a never-ending loop. What a pickle. I really dropped the ball, and I'm fully aware of it. However, Daniel. Well, that wasn't exactly the smoothest approach, was it? You really put me in a tight spot there, didn't you? She took a moment to gather her thoughts. My love for you has been like a stubborn stain, no matter how many times I tried to scrub it away, it just wouldn't budge. I was feeling a bit like a volcano ready to erupt. Well, let's just say my decision-making skills were on vacation, and they forgot to send a postcard. I was itching to grab the reins of my life once more. Mastery. Well, that was the word, wasn't it? That was the whole shebang for her, plain and simple. I gave that message 2 good listens, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. You know, like a detective going over the evidence, only with less drama and more coffee. Not that I was thinking about letting her off the hook, but I was curious to catch the words that danced around her lips but never quite made it out. No, I apologize for my unfaithfulness. Oh, come on now, that was just plain unfair. You really put me in my place, didn't you? As if the truth was the real troublemaker here. I shot that message over to my lawyer faster than a squirrel on espresso. By that point, we were knee-deep in the divorce paperwork, like 2 reluctant contestants in a very unfunny game show. However, I had just one little favor to ask. Don't forget to jot everything down, or you might end up in a game of guess what I said. And for heaven's sake, don't just roll over and accept the first thing that comes your way. I'd like to make this a public affair. And I want it spotless, like a freshly polished apple ready for a teacher's desk. A week later, I popped the last few things she'd forgotten into the mail, hoping they'd make it back to her without any drama, because who needs more of that, right? I slipped in a little note. A clean slate was just what you were after. Well, look at that. You've got yourself one now. All by myself. So, what about the car? I held onto it, like a squirrel with its prized acorn. Not because I'm feeling feisty. Well, let's just say I put in the work for it. Well, here we are, 6 months later. Folks often check in to see if I'm holding up alright. It felt like I just dodged a meteor shower or something equally catastrophic. Honestly, I've never felt more like I'm really living, you know? It's like I've finally found the secret sauce to this whole existence thing. The divorce sailed through without a hitch. Olivia chose not to engage in the battle. How on earth could she? The evidence had a way of shouting from the rooftops, far more effectively than her lawyers ever could manage in their polished suits. Once the paperwork was wrapped up, we might as well have been 2 ships passing in the night, no more words exchanged, just silence sailing on. She missed out on the house. No car for me this time. She didn't even get a chance to share her side of the tale. Because, quite frankly, there was nothing left to twist anymore. Word on the street, courtesy of our mutual friends, is that she's taken up residence with her sister for a bit. James has taken a permanent vacation. Left her hanging the very week the video hit 6 figures. Classic move, right? Guest betrayal has a shelf life, and trust me, it's not as long as you'd think before the fun fizzles out. Me. I packed my bags and hopped to a new city. Finally decided to take the plunge on a job offer I'd been dodging like a game of dodgeball for years. I've begun to rise and shine without that pesky knot in my stomach, like a morning coffee without the jitters. Enjoyed a nice, quiet dinner without any interruptions. Every now and then, I find myself chuckling at the silliest things all over again. Picture dogs, their heads sticking out of car windows, tongues flapping in the wind like they're auditioning for a role in a comedy. Pure joy, right? Or seasoned gents bickering over chessboards in the park. Oh, I'm as sweet as pie, really. I've officially reached my limit. And that, I've come to realize, is the true essence of healing. Just a little slice of life, nothing too over the top. Definitely not a speech. It's that delightful moment when you suddenly realize you've stopped giving a hoot about what someone like her thinks of you. Freedom never felt so good. Amidst the chaos, there's one little nugget of wisdom I managed to hang on to. The trusty steed on four wheels. Every weekend, I roll down the windows, crank up the tunes, and hit the road with my trusty ride. It's like a mini vacation on wheels. The very key fob she used to chuckle at as if it were a relic from a bygone era. I've got it dangling from my keychain, just like a trusty sidekick ready for action. And there are moments when I gaze at it and wonder, really? This? This granted me my liberation. And for once in my life, that was the best buy I ever stumbled upon. If you had a good time with the tale, why not hit that subscribe button? It's like giving a thumbs up to a friend who just told a great joke. May your spirits behind fortune smile upon you. My wife and her lover mocked me in front of their family. I showed them what real humiliation is.